What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the latest from the Premier League, SerieA, and the world of international football, soccer, whatever you decide to call it. KB coming at you from Underground Studios, Harrison back on the show, and joining us for the first time, resident Arsenal fan, Philly native, our guy, Mark Kremer, joining the show, who will be quite a regular on Top Ends here. Looking forward to that. Mark, welcome to the program, brother.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
We're going to go through everything that happened in the week that was in the Premier League. Obviously, it is transfer season. Some crazy rumors being thrown out there from all over the place. Bournemouth with some crazy injuries over the past couple days. And we'll also touch on the Supercoppa that happened and Christian Pulisic doing things on January 6th, baby. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials. On Twitter, it is at FC Top Bins. That's also the TikTok handle. And then on Instagram and Threads, it's at Top Bins Pod. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave that 5-star review. It does help the show continue to grow, helps more people find the show as well. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, which is where you get this show every single week, plus every show on our network. We're 13 subscribers away from 900, so let's try to hit that this weekend. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. Fellas, a week that was pretty wild in the Premier League this past week. Match week 20 has come and gone. Overall, some pretty wild results across the board, but I think we start with, like we've been saying since we brought the show back, the hottest team not named Liverpool, and that's Newcastle. Get another big-time result, a 2-1 win over Tottenham. A controversial win, handballs that may or may not have happened. But again, Isak just continues to dominate. And I know this week, Mark, you were tweeting, bring Isak to Arsenal. He's just so good. Like, anytime the ball touches his foot, it feels like it's going in the back of the net.
He's a man on a mission right now. He's looking to get a big name transfer, as we were talking about before the show. Obviously, a fan of Thierry Henry. You got to be happy about that, Mark. The man is magic. If Mohamed Salah didn't exist, we might be having discussions about him contending for the Golden Ball.
Yeah, I mean, I saw firsthand, or yesterday against my own team, how dominant he can be. Definitely a special player. I knew when Newcastle first bought him for, I think it was like $70 million, it was a bit of a head scratcher because I saw all the potential, but I thought that maybe it was like a tall, slender player, so I don't know how he could cope with the physicality of the Premier League. But these past years, he's just shown that he's just taken it by storm, and he's right now in the form of his life, which helps coincides with how good Newcastle has been lately. And as I said, dominated my team yesterday, so he's definitely a one hell of a player.
Now, I know there's the talk that Newcastle may have to, sell some players off to kind of level out their books and everything. But, I mean, if they can just build the way they have been over the past month or so and just give themselves enough cushion, like we're talking about a team that, could have enough as the second half of the season rolls out to finish, 4, 5, 6 in the Premier League.
Especially with the way Chelsea's been on the decline, it's been a tough watch as a diehard Blues fan myself. But I'm getting a little bit nervous that Newcastle's they're right on our heels. They can overtake us next week, 2 weeks, something like
Even
that.
Next week, because Chelsea's only a point ahead of them.
Yeah,
So.
well, we better get it figured out because they're nipping at us. They really want that spot. So here's hoping they figure it out, but. Newcastle's a team in form. We talked about it last week. They're the team nobody wants to play. So they're fun to watch. but it's unfortunate for everybody else in the top four except for Liverpool. So
now the real question is, were those handballs?
I think so. I think they got away with it, but it is what it is. That's the beautiful game, you know.
I thought it was handball as well, but
I agree.
What handball is these days? It's similar to what's considered a catch in football.
Yeah,
it's like what's an offsides, what's a handball. Nobody knows anymore. VAR just. I have a love-hate relationship with VAR. Like sometimes when it goes your way, it's like, great, good job, you caught something that should have been caught. And then when somebody's like, a finger offside, that should not be called offside. That just ruins the flow of the game.
My biggest issue with VAR is essentially that if the ref goes to the screen, you know that the on-field decision is always going to be reversed. It's like I want referees to like have a backbone and like stand with their call and be like, no, I don't think it's this call, or just stick with their own call. Sometimes they don't always have to go again, like reverse it, unless it's like blatantly obvious, of course.
Right.
It's like in the NFL, you need clear and conclusive evidence that something can be overturned. If it's not conclusive, if someone's a hair offside, if their arm is somewhat in a natural position, don't call it.
Well, I disagree with you on the offsides because offsides is black and white. Either you're onside or offside. It's just one or the other. But like for handballs or something like that I agree with it. But I guess it's open to interpretation based on who's refereeing that day, even so.
The next game, Bournemouth 1, Everton 0. Bournemouth suffers a few injuries this week too that could definitely hurt their standing in the Premier League, but a quality win over Everton nonetheless. But I mean, with those injuries that are pretty much season long at this point for them, it's tough to see where they could finish. Like it's not a discussion of them like going down or anything, but they're sitting in 7th right now. It's like how long can they sustain being there without 2 of their top players?
We won, but at what cost?
Yeah.
I don't think the 3 points was worth all those injuries, and
now granted, one of the injuries happened in training this week, but nonetheless, like it's one of those freak things that it's like, damn, like we get a win, we get a full 3 points, we're sitting right on the cusp of Manchester City, who's in 6th. We're 2 points back of Newcastle for Europa League standing, and now like where does our season go?
It's like that Trayvon Diggs injury in practice last year. You hate to see it. It can ruin a team's momentum. He's a Cowboy, but I can see them start sliding at this point, and it's unfortunate because they were having a hell of a season up to this point, but those kind of injuries that really derails a season,
especially because it was 2 of their center forwards too, and like you're down to your 3rd choice. You really have to change how you have to play, or it's going to be a little struggle for them to get goals now.
Yeah. Now, what would injuries happening like that? Like, do you see Bournemouth say, all right, what can we do to kind of get active in this transfer window? Is it worth it for them to kind of, sift around and see if they can replace somebody on the market? Or is it one of those things that, it's the middle of the season now, we kind of got to use the academy to our advantage. We got to use who's in-house to our advantage.
I say go crazy on the market. If you've got the money to spend, if you can find someone for a good price, you don't want to be missing a grade A center forward for the rest of the season. You need someone who's proven. Academy players can turn out very well, but you never know how they're going to turn out. They could be the next star in the making, like, Cole Palmer or someone like that. Or they can turn out like how Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's having a great season, don't get me wrong, but how he turned out for Chelsea, which was a big swing and a miss, or like a Mason Mount. Had a few good seasons, but now he's doing nothing United. So I think you got to play the market.
Yeah, I think you gotta go out and see what's available. Don't know how much money they have to spend, so maybe a loan signing would probably be better. But yeah, you gotta go get something.
Especially when you're sitting in 7th, like you're right there on the
Yeah.
tails of, Europa League. You're on the tails of Manchester City, like who has not had the best season whatsoever, and who knows what they end up doing. But you're right in the mix. You want to stay there as much as possible and do whatever you can to like supplement the unfortunate injuries. But they've been a good team all year, and we'll see what they end up doing and see if anybody gets linked to them, throughout the rest of the month. But a tough loss, even in a win for Bournemouth. Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 1. That was a huge win for Aston Villa. They definitely needed it. They're one of those teams that if they can just stay healthy, if they can stay out of their own way, obviously they're dealing with a red card situation right now too, but they've kind of, treaded water and kept their heads above water throughout it. And, they've got players to still make noise. And if they make any moves in this window, like, don't be surprised if they're, moving their way on up again. They've been in the mix all year. And obviously they're also, dealing roster construction wise with Champions League and everything, but they're still a damn good squad, even, with the kind of drop off they've had a little bit. Not that it's been crazy. They've fallen a little bit, but still a damn good team. And, if they keep racking wins, it wouldn't shock us if they wind up, top 5, top 6.
Yeah, and they've got some big Champions League fixtures coming up. We're getting closer to the big one coming back, which is going to be nice. And that Villa win's got to bump them in your search for a team.
Still alive. That was a huge win for them.
Still
alive. But yeah, I mean, for Leicester City, like they're trying to fight off relegation. Obviously, do they have what it takes right now to kind of keep themselves above water? I think is the real question. That's a tough game to drop there when they were in the mix for a lot of it. It's not that they played poorly; they just were playing against a superior opponent, and they let that goal from Leon Bailey in the 76th minute. But tough loss there for Leicester City, especially when they're fighting off relegation.
With Leicester, I can never count them out. They always seem to come up with some kind of magic. So it'll be interesting to see if they can really pull something together near the end of the season here. But as of right now, I don't see them staying in the Premier League next season.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think my biggest issue is defensively. They concede too many goals for me right now. So if they can get that sorted out and then nick a couple 1-0s against teams in the lower half of the table, maybe. But right now I just can't see it just because they're too defensively, they're too weak.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show that now has a one-of-a-kind, incredible partnership on its hands. Yes, I am here to formally and proudly announce to Top Bins Nation that the show is now an affiliate with Classic Football Shirts. That's right, Classic Football Shirts powering Top Bins. If you don't know Classic Football Shirts, what are you doing? It all started in the summer of 2006 when the lads should have been revising for their final exams, but with the World Cup on the horizon, they had other priorities, namely searching for an original 1990 West Germany shirt. Growing up, they both had been obsessed with collecting new kits, but to their surprise, sourcing a classic proved difficult and left them wondering how many others with a taste for nostalgia had been down a similar path. In that moment, Classic Football Shirts was born, and they have truly revolutionized the way to find those classic football shirts. They're the best. They are truly the best when it comes to vintage kits from your favorite squads in professional football and professional soccer, whether it be Premier League, SerieA, Bundesliga, you name it. Their website, I get lost in their website. Ever since we've landed this partnership, I've gotten lost in the Classic Football Shirts website. use our link in the description, guys, and shop classic football shirts. It really helps the show when you support our sponsors and our affiliates and advertisers. So use our link, shop classic football shirts today. When you get your order, tag us. We will repost it. We are so pumped to be working with classic football shirts. So use our link in the description and start revolutionizing it and just improving your kit collections today with our new friends at Classic Football Shirts. Harrison, are you ready to talk about it? Last week we said Chelsea had to win. They had to win to kind of bounce back, and they draw Crystal Palace 1-1 and let up a goal in the 82nd minute.
It's those late goals that are killing us right now. It's been week after week after week. We lose one at the death a few weeks ago. To be fair, against I'm blanking on who we played 2 weeks ago. That loss.
Fulham.
Fulham. That was a late loss.
Ipswich.
Yeah, when I told Ed Sheeran to go to hell. That one was going down early and not being able to claw our way back. But we looked to be in dominant form that entire game. You start off with a Cole Palmer goal, the hottest player in the Premier League. And then from there, it just goes downhill. It comes back to goaltending. We have a young defense, and I get that. They're still getting their legs under them in the Premier League. But Robert Sanchez has to be better. He just has to be better. And we have 8 goaltenders in the system, and you're telling me none of them are up to snuff? It's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Yeah, that whole game, it felt like Chelsea was just trying not to lose rather than trying to win. Cole Palmer scored that goal early, it was the 14th minute, I think. And then the rest of the game, it was let's see how long we can play keep away and just not lose the game. And they end up drawing in the 82nd minute.
Absolutely cowardly. And it's not the kind of ball we've seen out of Enzo Maresca's squad the entire season. I'm used to them watching them attack and keep playing even though they have the lead, just ensuring that they can get the win. And the possession is one thing. I've harped on this. If you don't do anything with possession, you're not going to do shit. So they better get it figured out. They got to start playing more aggressively, or else we might not even make the Europa League. It might be another year of the Conference League for us, unless we win the Conference League, which would be great. We better win the Conference League, but I'm tearing my hair out. I swear.
Yeah, Crystal Palace, that's a huge win for them to kind of stay above water as well. They've been in good form the past couple of weeks. But, you want to talk about good form, and a team that you should beat is Southampton, and Brentford put a beat down on them 5-0. Just a dominant performance there, and it was a 6-minute, and then all second half action from there. You're up 1-0 at the half, and then you just go for absolute blood the rest of the game. A dominant performance. And the crazy part is, we talked about this last week, Harrison, and I'm sure, Mark, you agree, you can outpossess a team, but it's a matter of what you do with those possessions. And Southampton outpossessed Brentford in this one 51% to 49% and still got shut out 5-0. But those are the teams that you're supposed to beat, no matter, who you are right now in the Premier League. Southampton is one of those teams that you should see on your schedule that you're okay, as long as we play our game, we're going to win.
Yep. And the Saints have not been looking very saintly recently. In fact, they look devilishly bad. So they've got to figure something out, but they're going to be spending next year in the championship for sure.
Or as you like to call them, Liverpool's AAA team.
Yeah, Liverpool's AAA team, whatever you want to call them. They are the call-up squad. They're the red and fight and fills of the Premier League, Liverpool.
Man City, are they back? They're a couple wins now in a row. They win 4-1 against West Ham. West Ham sacked their manager. I mean, they look good, and that looked like, typical Man City in that one, where they come out dominant performance. Haaland comes out with 2 goals in this one. Kevin De Bruyne could have had a goal, but he's like, hey, my boy Phil Foden needed that. Gets him on the last one. That I think that's a huge win for Man City with the season they've been having. They definitely needed it, and now West Ham going into their Graham Potter era.
So for City, it's interesting. I want to see them string a couple more together before I convincingly can say that they're back. I don't know if Erling Haaland is fully back either. I mean, he had 2 goals, but that was what you expected out of him last season. Now it looks more like a rarity. So I'm going to need to see a lot more out of them before I'm convinced.
Yeah, I also need to see more out of City. I mean, talent-wise, they should be better than what they are, but also going against the West Ham side that clearly had checked out on their manager, you expect a win like that for them, especially at home. So, I mean, good for them just for a run-of-the-mill performance, a typical City performance, but I agree with Harrison. Still need to see more from them going forward.
I mean, their upcoming fixtures, they've got 3rd round FA Cup against Salford City on Saturday. Then they've got Brentford on Tuesday, Ipswich Town on Sunday the 19th. They got PSG in Champions League on Wednesday the 22nd. And then Harrison, they're on your schedule, and you're going to Man City on January 25th.
That PSG game is huge for both teams if we look at the standings. So,
hey, they better not overlook Ipswich. They better not overlook Ipswich. That team is feisty. We learned that firsthand, unfortunately, which I'm still pissed about. God.
And I mean, for West Ham, like, new manager coming in now, like, it has not been an ideal season for them whatsoever to their standards. They're sitting 14th in the table right now. Graham Potter coming in, they're just waiting for, signatures to clear and everything. But does he not necessarily fix things for where they're standing at now, but, what does Graham Potter's outlook for this team become for the second half of the year, knowing that, you're a little lower than mid-table at this point and kind of trending downwards, where you have other teams that are mid-table that look way more promising this year than West Ham does?
Graham Potter is always feeling like a interim manager. He never feels like the kind of guy who's going to stick around. I mean, he was with us for a bit and took us through some of the most mediocre seasons I think I've ever watched in my life. Just the definition of mid. So if they can finish above 10th, I'd call that a success for the season. But it should be a rough watch for the rest of the year for Hammer fans out there.
I think with him, like the first year, you just gotta the rest of the year just stabilize things and just. I guess I'm not saying they're a threat for relegation because I think their team's much worse that have to be more worried about relegation, but I think just stabilize teams, get them in that 11th through 14th range, just stabilize things the rest of the year, and then go into the summer and help build the team in his vision at least.
Yeah, I mean it's not an easy go in the next 2 months outlook for West Ham. They play Friday FA Cup 3rd round against Aston Villa. Tuesday they're home against Fulham. Saturday they're home against Crystal Palace, who've been kind of on a heater lately. Then on January 26th, they are at Aston Villa again, just in Premier League play. February 3rd, they're at Chelsea. February 15th, they're home to Brentford. And then February 22nd, they are at your boys, Mark, and at Arsenal. And then they finish February home against Leicester City. So not an easy task at hand over the next month and a half or so for Graham Potter and West Ham.
Let's see if Potter can cast some Lumos or something, shine a light on this West Ham squad.
Looking at here, because I just lost my schedule. Here we go. Brighton won, Arsenal won. Mark, the big question, was it a foul?
I personally don't think it was a penalty. I thought it was a clash of heads, sure, but it's one of those things where like Saliba goes down grabbing his head, then it gets called off and we get possession. I feel like we played all right that game. Did enough create the early goal with Monieri, and then him coming off in the to start the second half wasn't good, and then turns out we lose him for a couple weeks. And then when you're at the point where we are, where we don't have that many attackers and we don't have our best player either for the next few months, like we're going to have to grind out results. And we had the capability of doing that, especially last year, how well we were defensively. And I still think we're a good defensive unit. It's just that when you're just leading 1-0 away from home for so long, it takes just one moment and then things can easily just collapse. So that's the worry. But I didn't think it was a penalty, but it is what it is.
And it felt like when the substitutions came on for Brighton, it felt like the entire game kind of like flipped on its head a little bit, and Brighton were just like rejuvenated in that game as soon as pretty much that triple substitution happened. It was like they found new form. They felt a lot more cohesive in that moment, and then throughout the rest of the game than Arsenal did.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was very, because the first half was all Arsenal, like, and we made Brighton look bad. Like, they didn't play well at all. So I knew that in the second half they would probably go more attack minded. And I think for the most part we did all right in managing them, but wave after wave after wave comes. Eventually the dam's going to break, even if you're as good as defensively as Arsenal is. So I mean, it's a frustrating result. Our 7th draw already this year. So just got to keep going, keep fighting. As long as we still have a chance, we just got to keep fighting.
I mean, you could be Brighton. They have 10 draws now and lead the Premier League draws, which is just insane. They're the only team with double-digit draws.
That's a draw to be proud of, though, if you're Brighton. Like,
oh yeah,
compared to all the other draws they've had this season, this is the one you take away the biggest smile from. And if Nottingham or Chelsea winds up overtaking Arsenal later this year by a point or by 2 points, that foul is going to be looked back on as a very controversial call. Again, when someone goes down clutching their head, it is what it is. You kind of have to call it. But it was definitely a weaker foul.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's also like the second game against Brighton this year where refereeing decision, I'll say, went against us, which then led to a draw. So it is what it is. Like, you go on and on about the refs this year for Arsenal against Arsenal, but it happens. Just got to move on.
And I think for Brighton too, like, you come out of this one, like you said, like that's a positive type of draw where like you look at some of the other draws that they had in December and it's like, what the fuck was that? Like, you had a lead and you conceded it late in the game. Brighton's a team, like, obviously a young manager, but they've also got to learn to, one, close games, and they also are a team that reminds me a lot of like American sports that either they're almost like the Sixers in a sense where like they play up to the big dogs and play really well against like higher end competition, and then when they've got the Leicesters, the Ipswich, and guys like that, they play down to the competition, and you can clearly see it in their form. So it's one of those things that they definitely have to figure out in this second half of the season too, to prevent themselves from finishing with 20 draws at this point.
Yeah.
Look like a team that play better when they're down. They look shaky whenever they have the lead. Like the drawing goal is always going to be right around the corner. But when they're losing, you just feel like they have a goal ready to come out of nowhere. So
Fulham 2, Ipswich Town 2. Who let Ipswich Town get hot? Oh, that's right. Chelsea did.
Yeah, Ipswich can thank us for their hot streak. Come on.
Not a great result for Fulham. Obviously, that's a game you want to win. But they do salvage this game. Ipswich had the lead until the extra time, so Fulham able to salvage points there. But Ipswich Town also bringing in some transfers lately too. So it's like one of those things that, even though they're the bottom of the table, like they're trying to stay up and bring guys in and hopefully fight off relegation. But another good result for Ipswich, even though it was a draw. Those are the draws you take if you're Ipswich Town.
For a team that's really just trying to make their name in the Premier League and stay up, they've done a hell of a job this season. And as much as I want to hate on them for beating us, we can always get round 2. So,
yeah.
And it's good for them. I always like it when not to say Ipswich are a smaller club, but comparatively to the big 6, they are a smaller club. So it's nice to see one of those types of teams making a name for themselves in the big league.
I also think my predictions, I think they do stay up actually, barely. I think the biggest thing is you need to have like a proven goal scorer on your team. And with Liam Delap, he's shown that he can do that. And I think he will score just enough goals for them to stay up. So having a talisman like that makes a huge difference, especially for relegation battles.
Yeah, I mean, they're tied right now with Wolves, and Wolves just has the tiebreaker, I believe, just on goal differential. So they're right there, being able to stay up. And if they can, finish some of those results and get a couple wins here, like who say they don't stay up. But it's trending upwards for Ipswich Town right now. Team that's been in the headlines all week for a myriad of reasons. Liverpool 2, Man United 2, and the team I'm talking about is Liverpool. Just discourse upon discourse about the big 3 and their contracts. Apparently, Spaceboy wants to buy the team. And I mean, everyone counted Man United out of this game with all the discourse they've had around them. And I mean, this is a win, even in a draw, for Man United, to say the least.
I mean, for a team that's been crashing and burning all season long, they needed a game like this. As much as I want to see Liverpool start dropping points and make this title race a little bit closer, there's something just beautiful about watching Man United get the piss beaten out of them. And I was really hoping for that this week, but I got to give it to United. They played a hard-fought game, deserved that draw. Now, how will it translate into future games? I don't think it'll help them that much, honestly. There's still a lot of discourse in and outside the club. I mean, you see players talking about, why can't we do this every week? Talking about Bruno Fernandes. And that's never a good sign. I feel like Ruben Amorim has already lost the locker room, which, regardless of the sport, regardless of the country, that is the death sign for a team. So I'm interested to see how everything's going to shake out for them after this week. I don't think it's going to do much.
I wouldn't say that he lost the locker room. I think he's got the respect of the locker room personally. But it's just he doesn't have the quality of players to be able to execute the system that he wants. So he's making the most of what he can do right now. And as for like players saying, why can't we do Zurich? I mean, the last few years has just been like this for United, where the first sign of adversity, their heads drop and they just give up like 2, 3, 4 goals and like very quickly. So the fact that they had the lead, lost, and are able to come back was actually impressive. And also the fact that they nearly had a chance to win it at the end with that Harry Maguire miss.
Big old slap.
I mean, it's a good result I think it's a good result for United. I think it's a bad result for Liverpool, especially because with Arsenal dropping points, they had a chance to really extend their lead. And even though they have a game in hand still, being able to just extend that gap as much as possible, I think they'll feel like there was a missed opportunity for them today.
This portion of today's episode of Top Bins is brought to you by our friends at Paramount Plus. Guys, Paramount Plus, I know it's that time of the year here in America. The NFL playoffs are streaming on Paramount Plus. It all goes down this weekend. 2 games on CBS Live and Paramount Plus. You've got Chargers, Texans. You've got Broncos, Bills, plus just a whole myriad of content on Paramount Plus that you don't want to miss, including the Christian Pulisic documentary, including Champions League football. Start today. Get started today. Use our link in the description. Sign up for Paramount Plus so you don't miss a single second of the action of the NFL playoffs, of Champions League, and all of the content that Paramount Plus has to offer. Use our link to sign up for Paramount Plus for free and start streaming the NFL playoffs on CBS Live and Paramount Plus. Yeah, I mean, bad for them there. And on top of that, Nottingham Forest winning as well, tied in points with Arsenal. So not great for Liverpool. I think also not great for Liverpool is Mo Salah coming out and saying that they're nowhere close on a contract extension.
I think he's gone. As much as he's a Liverpool Merseyside legend, it feels like this is the end. I feel like he's going to bring him a title, and he's going to walk. But you never know these things shake out. But I really think this is it.
I think he's just using all the leverage he can right now, which I don't blame him for at all. I do think Trent's gone. I do think Trent goes to Real Madrid. I think Verge stays for another couple years. Mm-hmm. Mo Salah is probably the most difficult one for it. I think he'll stay, but for a year or two max, and then I wouldn't surprise me if for next year we're having the same exact conversation about him. But
you might sign a 1-year extension and be like, all right, let's do it again next year.
It feels very Tom Brady, towards the end of the Patriots.
Yeah.
No. Watch him say, oh, no, I'm retired. Actually, no, I'm back. Oh, no, I'm retired.
Fabrizio Romano reports on it before he can announce it. He's on a beach in Egypt, and it's no, I'm staying.
Yeah. We're gonna get the report that he's done, and he's just gonna be chilling at a mansion somewhere. Who said I'm done? He's gonna be drinking some water, maybe a nice little smoothie or something, because he abstains from the liquor, and just he'll get those Twitter fingers going. Hey, whoa, wait a minute.
He'll post the Christmas picture in July, and everyone will lose their minds. I think too, if you're Liverpool, your sights this season just have to be win the treble, especially with all the headlines and everything coming out about all three of your guys that are up for contracts, and now everything with Trent going on. That has to be your sole focus, is winning every possible thing you can.
Yeah. It's another Galactico situation with Trent. He's gone for sure, as Mark said. That's set in stone. Now, the best thing Liverpool can do is just keep on winning.
Yeah. And who else keeps on winning? Nottingham Forest. 3-0 against Wolves, tied with Arsenal in points in the table. I mean, from an unbiased perspective, looking at what Nottingham Forest has been the last 2 years, fighting off relegation and where they are now, that's like a Disney movie.
Oh, yeah. It feels like Leicester 2.0 right now. They could have the magic.
I wouldn't go that far. I think they remind me more of Aston Villa from last year, where an unexpected team goes for a top 4 challenge, especially because they don't have any Europe to focus on or anything like that. They can just focus on the Premier League and the FA Cup, and that's it. My biggest question about them is, as I'm looking at the table right now, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 8th least amount of goals scored this year.
Oh.
So can they have enough goals to continue this title charge? Granted, defensively, they've been fantastic. Conceding the second least amount of goals this year. So maybe they can, but they need more goals. So can they do it? Possibly. I personally see them falling off just slightly and just missing out on that top 4, but wouldn't surprise me one bit if they somehow keep it up.
I mean, their biggest test is on Tuesday. They're home to Liverpool.
Yeah.
You want
they already beat Liverpool too.
Mm-hmm. Get your popcorn ready. That's going to be fantastic Tuesday afternoon viewing for everyone that's stateside.
That'd be insane.
It's going to be a wild game, and then after that they've got Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham, Newcastle, in their next 5 after that. So some winnable games, some good competition games. but they have been on a roll for sure. And that's everything from last week in Premier League action. We had Carabao Cup. Mark, you talked about you had the revenge of Isak against your squad 2-0 in leg 1. Tottenham wins today as we record this on Wednesday against Liverpool 1-0. How we feeling after leg 1 against old Newcastle?
Frustrated because they had 2-3 chances and they finished them and they were clinical, while we just had plenty of chances, especially like 3 set piece chances that we just couldn't finish. It's frustrating. It's games like these where we really notice Saka missing. Even though I thought Martinelli had a really good game on the right wing, despite the missed chance, it was a very frustrating result. That second goal is more of a killer more than anything else because it was 1-0 going up to Newcastle. I'd feel more confident. I do think it's possible we can go up there and get 2 goals and then go for the shootout, even 3. It's just going to be really hard just going up there in a raucous environment that St. James's Park is. But we've gone in there before and won. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, for Tottenham, you want to talk about a win, like scoring a goal in the 86th minute to come away victorious against Liverpool there. Like they've got to be doing backflips in the streets to come away with a result like that.
That might be the arm they needed.
Yeah, I mean, especially because some controversy with Bergwall potentially should have been sent off. I know a few of my Liverpool friends said they should have, and I would tend to agree with them. But yeah, I mean, I still think Liverpool get through. I can't see Tottenham going into Liverpool in front on and speaking of raucous environments like Anfield. It's going to be a big game for them. I just can't see Tottenham going in there and managing their emotions and being able to pull out a victory there.
Anfield's just different. It's one of those environments that is hard for every single team that goes in there to play against.
Yeah.
Those fans are insane. I mean, the atmosphere with You'll Never Walk Alone is one of the greatest in sports in general. So, Tottenham, I mean, they got the win. Good job. It could be a shot in the arm for the rest of the season, but it's not going to hold up.
Yeah, I agree.
And looking ahead to match week 21 in the Prem, Tuesday
FA Cup weekend first.
What's that?
It's FA Cup weekend.
Oh yeah,
first.
true.
Yeah,
I hit the wrong tab. Right here. What are we looking forward to? Third round FA Cup weekend.
Big teams. Always love seeing the smaller, lower level clubs get a shot against these big name clubs. You never know what could happen, but if you're one of the bigger clubs, any of the top 10 teams in England, you should be able to handle your matchup very easily.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal have Manchester United though, so
I mean that's basically a lower level.
Based on how they've been this year, yeah, you're not wrong, but. I'm at least happy enough that we get them at home.
Yeah, so. And again, I said top 10. They ain't inside the top 10.
True.
Yeah, you got that. You got Aston Villa, West Ham on Friday as well. And I mean, just kind of looking at some of the teams playing. I mean, you want to talk about Leicester City, like this is something that they definitely want to use to kind of build that momentum with Premier League play in the FA Cup and kind of just, continue building. They've got QPR on Saturday. And it's one of those things too. I think a team like Brighton definitely needs to utilize the FA Cup as something to kind of build. They'll get a look at what is his name? They'll get a look at, I think Diego Gomez is supposed to make his debut with them coming over from Inter Miami in the FA Cup. So that'll be something that they'll get to utilize to kind of see how he meshes with the club. But I think, teams like that, even even a team like Aston Villa playing West Ham, like these are the type of games too that you want to utilize to kind of like not necessarily like test things out, but you want to build momentum and kind of prove to yourself like, all right, we can go out, we can win, matches that we have on our schedule no matter what competition we're in, and kind of build momentum there when we get back to Premier League play.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
Harrison, how hard are you rooting against Leeds on Saturday?
That team, like Ed Sheeran, can go to hell. Oh God, they're the dirtiest bunch of scoundrels I ever done seen. I just, if it weren't for Aronson, I'd be completely against him. But Aronson, he's a Medford boy. He's Medford Messi. I can't fully root against him, but that's just against him. I'm rooting for them to lose big time.
But yeah, FA Cup is back this weekend, which will be a ton of fun. And then Tuesday through Thursday is match week 21 in the Prem. Harrison, is this must win for you against Bournemouth?
Same situation as last week. I'm hoping that Cole Palmer has an Eden Hazard-esque game against Eden Hazard's favorite opponent. Bournemouth, they're injured to hell and back, so that should take away their scoring threats. But against Robert Sanchez, you never know. You really never know. He could let in some fluky-ass goal, or he could make the save of the season. I don't even know anymore at this point. I'm just hoping that our offense gets it figured out. I want Neto to heat up. I think João Felix can heat up. And Sancho's been playing really well this season. I hope that he can stay around. I hope we sign him on a permanent basis at the end of this year. But you got to go up 2-0 early and then just keep your foot on the gas. There, no more playing to draw, no more playing not to lose. You got to play to win this weekend. And I'm going to bring out all the cliches. You got to play the full 90, foot on the gas, all that shit. But yeah, you got to win. Absolutely must win.
The real question is, will Shad Khan allow Doug Peterson to go watch Fulham away at West Ham now that he's relieved him of his coaching duties? Graham Potter's Prem debut with West Ham this season against Fulham. Not an ideal opponent, I'd say. Fulham's been pretty quality all season long, but if you're Fulham, you got to look at this and be like, we got to capitalize on an opponent that's definitely down on their laurels and getting their first crack with a new manager here in January.
Now the question is, will Shad Khan let Trent Baalke go watch the game? Because he
right next to him. He'll be sitting right next to him.
Yeah. And the whole time we'll just be like, if we get a new coach and he says to fire you, I'm going to fire you.
He'll be sitting next to him on a Zoom computer, like the one teacher from Ned's Declassified that rolls in on the computer screen. That'll be Trent Baalke.
He's just sitting there like,
terrible. Man City's at Brentford. Brentford coming off a 5-0 win, so you can't take them lightly, but we'll see if Man City's winning streak continues here or not. And then obviously I think game of the week, Liverpool at Nottingham Forest will be an absolute doozy of a game, 3:00 on Tuesday Eastern time. Wolves at Newcastle on Wednesday, Aston Villa at Everton, Crystal Palace at Leicester City. Mark, Tottenham, how we feeling? How we living? Got Tottenham at home.
It's always North London derbies are always you never know what to expect. But I don't think Tottenham's won at Arsenal in at least 15 years. I'll have to double check that. But at home, even without Saka, I think we have more than enough to be able to beat them. I think especially if they can get a result against United, like a good result, like a win, it will help forget about Brighton and Newcastle, just keep the momentum and then start the new momentum, new streak. So it's the start of a bit of a rough set of fixtures for us, but I always look forward to playing Tottenham, especially at home.
And without Harry Kane, I don't think Tottenham have the firepower to overtake Arsenal. The Gunners should be able to gun them down pretty easily.
Yeah. But derby games, you just never know. So, but I do feel confident going into that game for sure.
Also, T's and P's to the Baltimore Ravens because they're definitely not winning the Super Bowl because Harry Kane picked them to win. So,
it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
They're
Show
not-
over.
They might lose to the Steelers because of that now.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. But you never know. Harry Kane, he's the touch of death. Bayern Munich wins the Bundesliga 11 years in a row. Second he joins up, here comes Bayer Leverkusen.
Last two games in week 21, Brighton at Ipswich Town. Again, Ipswich Town's been in good form over the past couple weeks. Brighton's got to find a way to win this game. Like, they can't continue to just draw week over week over. I think it's like 7 straight now that they have not won a game. They've got to find a way to string together some wins over their next couple games if they even want to think about, top 5, top 6.
Yeah, I can see this one being a 1-1 draw again, honestly. Brighton, they are a very interesting team. They have the goods to pull it all together. The question is whether they will be able to. And I think they're just going to continue to draw until something happens. Like maybe they're that midfielder they brought over from the MLS. Maybe he can pull them up and do something. But they needed some kind of shot of adrenaline right now.
And then final game, Southampton at Man United. Is this the game that Southampton finally gets over the top?
No.
No, they're not. They are bad.
Yeah.
They are bad.
Now, you want to talk about scenes? That would be a scene.
It ain't happening.
Yeah, no.
And right now, your top 5, Liverpool with 46 points, Arsenal 40, Nottingham Forest 40, Chelsea with 36, Newcastle with 35, Man City's at 34, Bournemouth at 33, Aston Villa at 32, Fulham at 30, and Brighton rounds out the top 10 at 28. And then the teens, as I like to call them, Everton with 17, Wolves with 16, Ipswich Town 16, Leicester City with 14, and then Southampton with 6.
Yeah, steep drop off.
Steep
drop.
Looking at some transfer news because it is transfer window season. This episode of Top Ends is also brought to you by our good pals over at Biñho. Guys, Biñho is the next big tabletop game. They're taking over everywhere. And if you want to experience Biñho, you got to check out biñhoboard.com. It's linked in the description. It is foosball meets paper football. It will get the people going. It's the ultimate tailgate game to break out and have the people talking and wondering, where do I get this? How did you come across this? Well, our friends at Biñho got you covered. Check out everything on their website. And when you go to checkout, using our link in the description, use code BiñhoBennett62. That's BiñhoBennett62. Using our link in the description, shop everything Biñho's got to offer. Get your custom board, get your Liverpool board, your Arsenal board, your MLS team. Maybe you fancy an MLS board. Biñho is the best. Use code BiñhoBennett62 at checkout for 10% off your next order from our friends at Biñho. There's been a ton of rumors floating around for a multitude of teams. Bournemouth did sign a left back in Soler. But I mean, the rumors are floating around like crazy. Mark, what are some of your favorites that you've kind of seen flying around?
I know Ipswich is about to sign that guy from Villa, Jaden Philogene.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good signing for them, just get him more attacking. Obviously, I think the biggest one right now is Rashford, with all where he's going to be loaned, because I do think he's getting loaned out. Where? Good question. They say the top 3 is, I think, AC Milan, Juventus, and Dortmund. So I think it's going to be one of those 3. I think it'd be a little funny that Dortmund gets another Man United reject. I think those are probably the two biggest ones. I know Arsenal, they really liked Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao, but I really find it hard to believe that they'll get him in January. I think it'd be more, if anything, it'd be more of a summer signing. Those are probably the 3 or 4 biggest rumors that have piqued my interest so far.
Yeah, and you mentioned it too. Ipswich Town got Ben Godfrey from Atalanta.
That too,
so that's big for them. Spurs signed a goalkeeper from Slavia Prague. It's going to be, because the mid-table is so congested that it's going to be interesting to see like who decides to pony up in this window and who decides to be like, hey, we've got enough. We've just got to perform. And I think, we talked about it with Bournemouth with their injuries. Like, it wouldn't shock us if we see them try to go in and get something that kind of shakes things up. But, I think Liverpool's been in, the window just trying to get that one final piece for them to kind of capitalize on winning the league. But, I mean, it's still relatively early in the window, and we'll see what kind of shakes out. But a lot more rumors swirling around. It feels like a lot of right now, a lot of just kind of like hopes and dreams rumors for a lot of teams that people are just trying to put out into the ether.
I think Victor Osimhen linked to Chelsea for what feels like the millionth time in the past 3 years. It seems like Kobe Mainu on the move. He looks like Chelsea are front runners for that. I think Trent may go this transfer window.
No, he's not going anywhere. Liverpool said it. They're not.
They said it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are a couple big ones too. Zubamendi to Real Madrid. That looks like it could be an interesting move.
Interesting.
And Arsenal and Juve are open signing Araujo from Barca.
So I don't think we need any more defenders. So
you say that. Meanwhile, Chelsea's over here with 8 goalkeepers. So you can never have enough defenders.
Yeah, well, I think everyone would be very annoyed in the Arsenal fandom if we signed another defender right now.
Well, it looks like Milan is going after a whole bunch of Americans. Gio Reyna's linked to them right now, so that would be very interesting. To see Captain America link up with his protege.
Harrison, how do you feel about Vlahovic being offered to Chelsea and Man United?
I'd take him. Nico Jackson's good, but if we could pair him up, make a nice little solid front three with him, Vlahovic, and Cole Palmer, that would be great for our top 4 push. I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that.
I'm trying to see if I have anything else that's popped up here just in case. Yeah, not too much else. But we'll be dialed in on transfer window rumors and actual happenings over the next couple of weeks. But on top of that, AC Milan wins the Supercoppa. Pulisic magic, baby. Does the thing. I mean, what a start to a managerial career. 2 wins against your 2 biggest rivals, and one's for a Supercoppa title.
You get a trophy within your first 2 matches. You're feeling phenomenal. Phenomenal. Milan's got to be on top of the moon right now. I know Dom's freaking out.
Oh yeah, he's thrilled. And I mean, we said it last week too when we were talking about them. It feels like they are way more focused on like tournament play more so than winning SerieA at this point, being that they're sitting 8th in the table, and not that they're far off, top 6 or anything like that, but it feels like they have tournament wins on their minds rather than anything else.
Yeah. Go for the trophies that are more attainable. And that's a good strategy to live by. I feel like new manager, he's feeling great. He knows that they have a shot at multiple more trophies, maybe not the SerieA, but they can build off of this.
And I just saw an article too from about 3 hours ago. Manchester United put 2 non-negotiable demands to AC Milan in a Marcus Rashford deal. being that they have to be met before greenlighting an exit for him. And it's saying that Man United would prefer a permanent sale to bolster their spending power, with the proceeds from deals for homegrown stars counted as quote-unquote pure profit on the balance sheet. And a loan that contains an option/obligation to buy could serve as a worthy compromise. And then mention the other clubs that we mentioned in there, but kind of putting the pressure on there for Rashford to come over to Italy.
Yeah, Man United don't have any leverage.
Mm-hmm.
So they can have all these fans that they want, but AC Milan can be like, no, and just have a player on their own books. So I think, as I said, I think if he leaves, it'll just be a loan. And then there'll be a summer sale for him for sure.
And it feels like United are really wasting away the potential that Rashford's career had when he jumped out of the gates. When he jumped out, he was the hottest commodity in sport. He was off to a banger. What he had like a hat trick in his first call up, another goal or two in a second, another goal and an assist in his third. And ever since that first season, it feels like nothing's happened. His career has stagnated, and he needs a fresh change of scene.
Yep.
To get back to where he should be. He's a tremendous talent, and he does not deserve to be wasted in Manchester anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild month, to say the least, with everything going on. But any final thoughts, boys, before we get out of here, going into FA Cup weekend?
Please, Blues, I begged you last week. I am on my knees here. Please start winning. For the love of God. Please. That's it.
I just want my team to score some goals more than anything else. I'm not worried about us not winning because we've bounced back from like rough patches of form. So I just want us to start scoring some goals.
I think I was planning on eliminating a team from my decision this week. I think I'm going to hold off until next week, kind of see how things shake out. Still have 6 remaining, being Newcastle, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Brighton, Arsenal, and Crystal Palace. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But I will say if Space Boy ends up buying Liverpool, they are off the table because it can't be doing that.
Like to know, Space Boy.
That felt like it just came out of nowhere too. We'll end with that. That news felt like it just came from the clouds. That
he came from outer space.
His dad, of all people, is going on the record saying that he'd like to buy Liverpool because he grew up rooting for them and they know the Beatles.
Oh, cool. They know the Beatles. They're owned by LeBron James. I don't think they're selling.
Yeah, they've come out and said, like, the club's not for sale, but it's like the clips and things I've seen from some of, like, these like, desk shows of some of the people that are, like, all for it. And it's, like, the most obscure people being, like, in support of him buying, because it's like, oh, it's unlimited funds. And it's like, but at what cost?
He's going to buy the club and be like, I'm the one who founded it. I was actually born 200 years ago, and this is my team. I started it.
He's not going to care at all.
He would change them to, like, he would change their logo to a giant X.
Yeah. Merseyside X.
You will never X alone.
We don't walk here. We fly on the wings of a phallic-shaped spaceship.
Like, and that's the thing too. When you look at it, it's like pretty much every business venture he's been a part of, he was either gifted into or it's been a complete disaster across the board. So I mean, if you are the overarching like Premier League looking at it, if you are Liverpool, if you're Fenway Sports Group, like there's no rational reason to be like, yeah, this is the guy for the job if we were to sell the club.
Oh yeah, everybody thought he was Tony Stark. No, he ain't. He ain't.
He wishes.
He wishes. But yeah, that news just made no sense to me. It's like, who's getting his father on the record to talk about that? Because that also felt like it just had like no source whatsoever. Like, I genuinely had to make sure that it wasn't like a fake account like posting it, and I see like Sky Sports and The Guardian tweeting about it. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, that it just makes no sense logistically from a success standpoint if you're a sports team for that guy to be in charge.
That might, if this happens, Liverpool might get relegated at some point.
It wouldn't. I mean, it would. You want to talk about failures? That would be a failure.
Yeah. Everything he touches does not turn to gold; it turns to shit.
Yeah.
He's like Midas if Midas got cursed with an even worse power.
But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials. Subscribe to the pod. Mark will be a regular recurring fixture on the show. Happy to have you on board with us, man. And
happy to be here.
It's going to be a ton of fun this weekend, FA Cup, and then during the week we got more Premier League going on, and we'll be back next week talking all about it. So stay tuned. And I think within the next week or so, we'll have a voicemail line open as well, so that you can rant and rave about your clubs. But until then, stay styling, and we'll see you next week.